Good afternoon, LBUSD community. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Kelly Hodge, and I am one member of a team of 4 that make up the Parent University team. The other members are Rebecca Fast, teacher on special assignment, and 2 parent coordinators, Yolanda Huerta, bilingual Spanish interpreter, and Mr. Sam Keogh, bilingual Khmer interpreter. We are happy to begin our fall series of workshops today and look forward to joining you each Thursday afternoon. During today's workshop, Canvas 101 for Parents, you will hear from 4 presenters that will share tips and tools from the perspective of an LBUSD parent, which is Mrs. Fast, our teacher on special assignment. She is a middle schooler and a high schooler in LBUSD. Then we will hear from Mr. Kurtz, an elementary school teacher from Star King Elementary. Then we'll move on to Mr. C, a teacher on special assignment at Stevens Middle School. And lastly, we will have Ms. Martin, the special education curriculum leader. In about 30 minutes, we will have our chat feature on YouTube go live so that you can enter any questions that may have come across your mind as you've been listening to our presenters. We will do our best to answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Ms. Fast.
Hi. Thanks, Kelly. My name is Rebecca Fast, and I'm coming today not only as a TOSA, a teacher on special assignment. I have a 20 years experience teaching middle school in our Long Beach schools. Today I'm coming to you wearing my parent hat as we look at some tips and tricks for parents. So I'm going to take a minute here to share my screen, and we'll get right into it. And of course, there we go. It wasn't working. Okay. So here we go. So what are our goals for all of the parents here today? Our goals at the end of this workshop is that by the end of this workshop, you will know what is Canvas. You'll be able to describe what Canvas is and how your students are interacting with it. We also hope that you know some tips and tricks that you can best help your students at home. So what are ways that you can interact with Canvas at home with your families? So let's start with that basic question. What is Canvas? Canvas is Long Beach Unified's new learning management system. So here's kind of the textbook definition. It is a powerful set of highly integrated tools and apps that allows districts, schools, and teachers to build a robust digital learning environment that supports high quality engagement, collaboration, and feedback between teachers and students. So what does that mean? There's a lot of big words in there and a lot of educational jargon. But what that basically means is this is a one-stop place for parents and students to get their Zoom links, to get their assignments, to look at the gradebook without having to go from Google Classroom to School Loop or all the different places you might have had to go in the spring. You can get your gradebooks. Teacher announcements are all in Canvas. Communication between student and teacher or parent and teacher. So there's lots of ways that you can communicate with your teachers. And also, this is one place where teachers can use external tools. So if they're going to be using tools like Google Classroom, if they're going to be using Pear Deck or Jamboard or all of the tricks that teachers are using, it's all in one spot. One of the questions that a lot of people were asking is, why did we switch to Canvas? Why did Long Beach Unified go from Canvas when in the spring they were using Google Classroom? Well, some teachers were using Google Classroom, but some teachers found other apps that were better for them, that worked better for them. And so a lot of parents were having to go to lots of different places to help their kids. And so Canvas is a one spot, one place where everything is housed. Grades, assignments, communication between parent and teacher, student and teacher, it's all located in Canvas. So when students log into Canvas, this is what their page may look like. This is actually my daughter's page. When she logs into her desktop, she can see all of her classes right here. An elementary school student's page might look simply like this. It will have one course. On all of the pages, they can look at their teacher's course. They have a to-do list of upcoming assignments, and they even see which recently assignments have been graded, so they can see which ones they've recently gotten feedback on. Just like when you walk into different teachers' classrooms, they all look differently and they all use different styles and have strategies. You can see that as evidenced on their Canvas pages. So one teacher might have like this Bitmoji classroom and a whole bunch of links on the side. And another teacher's page might be more simple, right? They just have kind of the nitty-gritty of what they want their kids to get to in a very quick way. But all of them have the same tools. So all of them have this dashboard of links right here. They all have some to-dos, and they all have recent feedback. So that will be similar on a lot of the pages. But I'm not going to focus on what it looks like for a teacher in classroom. I'm going to save that to Mr. Kurtz and Mr. C. I'm going to today look at what parents need to know. So what should parents do? Well, one of the first things you should do is link your account. So parents should really link their account and become observers to their students' page. Why? A couple of reasons. One of the reasons is you can see the assignments that your students have been given. You can look at the due dates and you can see which assignments are coming up. You can see the grades on specific assignments, and then you can also look at the overall grade in the class. If you have older kids, it's very dissimilar to how School Loop used to be. You can log into your phone on the app and quickly see your students' grades. You can quickly get an overview of how your kiddo is doing in school. Okay, so I'm going to try to go through this quickly. Although, to be honest, it's really not a quick way to do it. It takes a few steps, but I'm going to try to get through them quickly for you here today. The first thing you need to do before you pair your account or go into your parent Canvas account is you need to actually log into your student's account. So the first thing you need to do is log into your student's account and grab what's called the pairing code. So go into your student account, go into their account setting. It should look like this. And then you're going to click on settings. And so find in your student's account the settings. There's a button that's called Pair with Observer. You're going to go into that and you're going to grab a unique code. This code is unique for your student. So that way when you go into your parent account, as soon as you enter that code, your two accounts will be linked. So you're going to do this. Here's a tip that I found the hard way, but I'm going to pass this on. Go into all of your student accounts first. Grab all the codes for all of your students. That way when you go into your parent account, you can link all of your students at the same time. So for each of your students, go in, click Pair with Observer, and grab their code. Okay, here's another tip I'm going to pass along parents, because I live in a household where I have a teacher account, I also have a parent account, and then I have two students who have each their own accounts. And so that's a lot of students and a lot of people in my house that are logging into Canvas on the same computer sometimes. Canvas is thinking it's doing us a favor by, even when we log out and we try to log back into Canvas, it's remembering our passwords and it's logging us back in. So we've had a couple, harrowing situations at our house where my one daughter's trying to log in, but my account keeps coming up. So we learned this the hard way. In fact, we've learned a lot of new words this year. Parents who's with me, how many of us have learned words like clearing the cache, clearing the browser, updating browsers, a lot of new vocabulary since we've been online distance learning in our house. So here's a little tip that I've learned. When you are going from one account in Canvas to another account in Canvas, you need to either clear the cache or you need to change the browser. So an easy way to do that is to go up into the top right-hand corner of Google, and you see that little waffle, and this is my daughter's account. So if she goes in, but if I want to go in now, I just simply need to go to add another account. I add my account, and now it's going to pull up all of my passwords and all of my logins. So I had to learn that one the hard way. Some of you might have had to do that at home too, especially if you have lots of kids using the same computer. Okay, so once you have your pairing codes, now you need to create your parent account. So you can go into lbschools.net, click the parent tab, then click on Canvas, and you're going to go to the top right-hand corner if you're starting your account, and go ahead and says where click here for an account. Here's where you're going to set up your account, fill in your information. Here's where you enter that pairing code for one of your students. You're going to enter the pairing code, then click Start Participating, and you're in. And so now all of a sudden you can see your kiddo's dashboard. Just like they see their dashboard, you can go in and see the same thing. You are now an observer. But before you move on, you might want to now add all of your other students. So you can go into your parent account, now go into your settings. So as a parent, you go into your settings, you're going to click this observing button because now you're going to look at the students that you are observing. And then it's going to allow you to enter another pairing code. You can keep doing this for all of your students and their names should pop up here. So go ahead and you can add all of your students. And when you're in, now you'll see a dashboard filled with courses. So you might see in here your middle schooler, your high schooler, and elementary. And to be honest, it looks a little overwhelming at first. It almost looks jumbled up. They're in alphabetical order. They're not in by period. They're not in by student name, but they're in alphabetical order. But you could move these tiles around and organize them however best you see fit. One of the first things you're going to want to do is go in to check your settings. So you go into your own settings. You can change the language, so you can put it in Spanish or English or another language. The one thing you're going to want to do, especially if you have an older student, is go into your notifications. This is how many times you get an email. I didn't do this right away. For each of my students' classes, I was getting an email every time they had an assignment posted, every time they had an assignment graded, every time the teacher wanted to just let them know something. So with each of my daughters having 7 classes each, I was getting up to 30 emails a day. So we had to fix that. So one of the things you want to do is go into the grading or go into all of these due dates, all of your settings. You can go ahead and click if you want to be notified right away, if you want to be notified daily, if you want to get a weekly summary or not at all. So if you click the green box all the way to the right, that means not at all. So depending on your student, if you have a type of kiddo where you want to know every time something has been turned in, then you might want to click that. But if you had a student who's pretty good about turning things in, who you can, maybe a little bit older, a little more self-sufficient, then you can go ahead and maybe click don't send me anything. Maybe you just want to look at the grades, on your own schedule. And to do that, you just click this button here that says view grades, and you'll see all of your students' grades that will come up. And for me, I just kind of give an overview, and then I might want to go and say a 60%. Why do they have a 60% in one class? And then I might click on the biology link and go explore from there. So just a few tips on that. One more great tip I'll give is that if you ever get stuck as a parent, there's a tool here that's called Help. So you can click on the Help button. When you click on that, you can get some guides, you get some tutorials, you can report a problem. There's a lot of great links right in that Help button. Okay, so that was a lot of desktop features. There's also a parent app where you can go into Canvas, and the Canvas app, it's more of a streamlined kind of it's very different than the desktop. So all those features about changing notifications, that's in the desktop. But if you want to have just one for your phone where you can get a quick glimpse of your students, you can also download the parent app. So just a few tips that I hope were helpful, and we'll be answering some questions. So if you have some more questions you want to throw out there at the end of the presentation, go ahead and put them in the comments section, and we'll be sure to get to those at the end. But right now, I'm going to pass it to our elementary expert today, Mr. Nicholas Kurtz. He's going to talk about how a lot of this looks in elementary school. So let me stop sharing here. Okay, Mr. Kurtz, I'm going to kick it to you. So thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And so, like what Ms. Foss mentioned, the first screen that you'll see in elementary school, you'll see a lot less classes. There's usually only about one class here. If the students have other courses, possibly like music or resource or anything like that, or speech, there might be a couple other courses, but there won't be as many as in middle school. On this first page, there will be this button right here, this call out right here. This is the announcements, and this is a good feature to pay attention to, because this is a really great way for parents or for teachers to communicate with parents and just let them know about upcoming events or important details. So that lets the person know that there's a message right there that's an announcement to read. Once we go into the course, I just want to kind of highlight some of the navigations, and like we kind of talked about, every teacher is going to have a little bit different. But there's the navigation on the left side, and a lot of elementary teachers have gone and created buttons. So a lot of these are interactive to get teachers and students and parents to other portions of the Zoom or of the Canvas course. So that's a feature that's quite often. After that, I do want to go into what it looks like from a student's point of view and a parent's point of view on kind of what's important to look at. So students will get feedback and things will get graded, but an important thing to remember is the grades in Canvas, especially in elementary school, they're meant as a tool to kind of give a feedback of where the student is or how they're working towards achieving the standards, and they're not the final grades that are going to go into Synergy. So kind of take the grades with a grain of salt and just kind of look for overall trends and not necessarily a specific grade. Like if you're noticing that the student has a lot of missing assignments, that might raise a flag and might be of some concern. We want to reach out why that's there. Late assignments, I do want to highlight that sometimes late doesn't really mean late. Zoom or Canvas and Google don't always communicate perfectly, so the late could not necessarily be late. So as we look at our assignments, and as you can see, there's a lot of assignments here because we've been practicing on making assignments, on using assignments. So we're all learning together. But the thing that I do want to point out here is that the feedback. So this is a fake student that I created, but this little box right here, this little call out with the two messages, kind of like a chat, is some feedback that I gave on this assignment. So on this assignment, the student received a 2 out of 4, which doesn't mean they're going to get a 2 out of 4 because teachers might give more than one opportunity to do an assignment. But this just kind of lets again, working towards achieving the standard. This is a 2 out of 4. They're not quite there. They're approaching the standard. So if we look at the feedback, that's the more important part. And then you click on that and you can get feedback to see how to improve and work through the assignment there and work towards achieving those standards. Again, these are not final grades. The final grades are going to be in Synergy. So try to take these grades with a grain of salt and just look at them as a way to improve in our learning every day. The next thing I want to highlight is the way that the Canvas course might look in a K2 versus a 3-5 course. In a K2, there might be a lot less. The course might only have a Zoom link and maybe 1 or 2 assignments a day, or even a week, because a lot of the assignments are going to be, and a lot of the work might be live with the teacher and the synchronous learning. So there might only be a Zoom link and a couple of things for them to click on, because they're doing most of that learning with the teacher and the synchronous learning, and there's limited opportunities for the asynchronous. They're doing more stuff like ST Math and Core 5. But in the upper grades, in 3-5, there might be more assignments. So like this is my course, and not all courses will look like this, but there will be courses where there might be an agenda, some supplies that they'll need for the day, and then there might be some assignments. And assignments will have some directions. There's different ways to give directions, and then there's different ways to submit the assignments, but this is where their assignments will be. Students will submit that work, and then you can always go to, again, to the grades to see that feedback. And that feedback's really what's important here, not so much the absolute grade in Canvas. Again, look for trends versus specific grades. And then let's see. That should do it for me. I'd like to go ahead and hand it off to Mr. C now.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm happy to be here with you all and extend my knowledge of Canvas at the secondary or middle school level. What I really want to start off with is, let me go ahead and share my screen. What I really want to start off with is logging into Canvas. So I'm going to be revisiting some basics because I've just seen a trend with students having troubles logging into Canvas. So there are 2 places where you can log into Canvas. You can go into our district website, which is right over here, lbschools.net, or you can go directly to the Canvas website, which is lbschools.instructure.com. So I will have these slides available to you guys, and I'm not going to go over the videos because I do have some how-to videos over here, but it's something that you guys can refer to at a later time and watch at a later time if need be. So let me go ahead and kind of share with you guys live about how to go and log into Canvas. So again, you can go ahead and start off by going into the district website. Once you are in our district website, what you can do is go to Students, and you're going to go ahead and select Canvas. Once you're in Canvas, if the student is already logged in with Google, great. If not, they're going to have to go and log in with Google and make sure that they are logged in using their student ID number at student.lbschools.net. All right, and another way to go onto Canvas is to simply type in lbschools.instructure.com. So this is the actual website to our Canvas for the district. So that's it, it'll take you here. Now, the second thing that I want to go over is when you're in Canvas but you can't log into Zoom. I know this should be mostly about Canvas, but again, I'm trying to identify trends of issues that we're seeing here. So give me a second just to share my screen. All right, so here's what you guys should be looking at. So you are in Canvas, but you can't log into Zoom. What you're gonna wanna do here is open up a new tab on your browser. You are gonna go onto zoom.us. At the very top right, you will see sign in, and that's what you're gonna click. You're gonna scroll down, then select sign in with Google. And again, you're gonna have to log in using the student's ID number at student.lbschools.net. I highlighted that in yellow here because that's something that students tend to forget. So I want to place emphasis on that. If you are having trouble logging into Zoom, you're successful logging into Canvas, but you cannot log into Zoom, you have to make sure that the student, your child, is using their student ID number at student.lbschools.net. And then what you're going to want to do is go back into Canvas and relaunch Zoom. So let me show you how that looks. All right, so you are in Canvas. Let's say that I want to go into my math course and I want to go on to Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Zoom tab on the very left, but for some reason I'm getting an error when I click join. Perhaps it says only authenticated users can join. So what you're going to want to do again is you're going to open up a new tab. You're going to type in zoom.us. Once you're in zoom.us, at the very top right, you're going to click on sign in. Once you click on sign in, you have to scroll all the way down to where you see sign in with Google. Go ahead and click on sign in with Google. Once you click on sign in with Google, again, it should automatically log you in as a student, but I want to place emphasis again that you have to make sure that you are logged in using the student school account. So here's how you make sure that. At the very top right, if you hover over this icon over here, you need to make sure that it does say the student's ID number at student.lbschools.net. Once you have this open, once you are logged in with the school account, then you want to go ahead and go back to the Canvas tab and then click on join that meeting. All right. The next thing that I want to go over is how to view grades in all of your courses. So Ms. Foss already went over this, but I'm gonna go ahead and revisit it again. So as a student, and when you have your Observer account activated, what you're gonna wanna do is the same process. You're gonna wanna make sure that you are in the Dashboard tab, and you're gonna wanna select View Grades, which is gonna be at the very far right side. So let me show you how that looks like. So I'm gonna go back into this over here, and I'm gonna go to the Dashboard. So again, I'm using a student account. I'm in Dashboard, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to the very right side. Now, these are all the assignments that the student has to do. These are just reminders. I'm gonna scroll all the way down. Here's recent feedback. So for this, as a teacher, I've given the students feedback. I've already graded his assignments. So if you wanna take a look at that, you can over here. And right below that, at the very right side, at the very bottom, you'll see View Grades. You're gonna go ahead and click on View Grades, and it will give you a report card view of the student's grades. So you see all his courses along with the grades. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that Canvas is something that teachers are still exploring. It's something that we are still getting trained on, and it's something that we are constantly finding new things about. So you may not see all the grades in there yet, but eventually they will be there. Now, if you want to view the grades for each individual course, great. What you can do is click on the links to each individual course. That's one way to do it. Or in Dashboard, you can just go ahead and click on that class that you want to view the grades for and all the assignments that have been assigned. So for example, if I want to go ahead and view the grades of math, click on that math course. And on the very left side, the grades tab should be available. Go ahead and click on that grades tab. And what you will see is all the assignments that have been assigned along with the grades. So this is just an example of a student who is doing stellar so far. So I'm gonna go back into Dashboard and show you an example of a class where you will see different statuses when it comes to assignments. So let me go over here. So right over here, and again, Nicholas had touched on this too, you'll see different statuses. You'll see the missing status, you'll see a late status, or you'll see an excused status. You'll see all of this here. It's just to inform the student and the parent that, hey, this assignment is missing, let's please turn it in. So again, if you have concerns, if you have questions about a missing assignment, I would go ahead and reach out to that teacher. I would message that teacher. Same with late. Now you'll also see this. You'll see scores that are numerical. You'll see numbers, and you'll also see X and checks. Let me tell you all the difference between X and checks. X means the assignment is incomplete. Let me repeat. X means the assignment is incomplete. So you're gonna wanna make sure that that student is turning in their assignment that is complete. So let's go ahead and check in with our students and let them know, hey, I see that you have an X. Let's make sure that you're completing that assignment, and go ahead and reach out to your teacher. And check means that that assignment is complete. So again, you have 3 different statuses that you will see. You'll see missing, late, and excused. And if you see an X and a check, X is incomplete and check means complete. Otherwise, you'll see points for everything else. All right, let me go ahead and switch back. So that is how you view grades of all courses. And I just went over the different assignment statuses that you will see, which is again, late, missing, and excused. And again, if there is no grades, if you have a concern about grades, please communicate with the child's teacher. And I will go ahead and show you guys how to do that, because I already have students who are reaching out to me, and I had to teach them how to reach out to me. So let me show you guys how to do that. So in every student's page, they will have an inbox icon to the very left side. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and click on that inbox icon. Once you are there, at the very top left, you'll see the compose icon. Go ahead and click on that compose a new message icon. Once you're there, go ahead and click on or select the course. This is a drop-down menu. Go ahead and select the course that you want to reach out to the teacher for. So for example, I wanna reach out to Mr. C, myself. So I'm gonna select my course. And at the very right side, you don't need to type anything in here. What you can do is go to the very right side, there's a directory icon. Click on that directory icon, and then you will see teachers. Go ahead and select teachers, and you will see that teacher's name. Right over here, you'll see my name. I'm the student's math teacher. And then go ahead and put a subject, and you will type in or compose your message to that teacher. So this is a way to reach out to your child's teacher. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to this. Now, how to submit Google assignments on Canvas. This is what I'm gonna move on to. What we see time and time again is that teachers are still utilizing Google assignments, which is great. So Canvas does have a way where you can submit Google assignments. There are some students who are having trouble or having issues with submitting Google assignments. So here's how, hopefully, you can help mitigate those issues. So let me go ahead and share my browser. And as this student's teacher, I've already created an assignment that is a Google assignment. So I'm gonna go into my own math course. I'm gonna go into modules. And right over here, we have an essay assignment. Now this essay assignment is a Google assignment. This student has to complete this assignment through a Google Doc. So let's just give it a second to load. And here's what your student will see. Anytime that a teacher assigns a Google assignment, this is what they will see. What you're gonna want to be careful for, and what you're gonna want to keep in mind, is that there are going to be some new tabs that will open. Sorry. So you're going to want to make sure that your child is clicking on that blue button that says open to attach and submit. So go ahead and click that button, open to attach or submit. As you can see, a new tab was just opened. You have to remind your student or your child that they cannot click submit yet until they've completed their Google Doc assignment or their Google assignment. Because not all the time will it be a Google Doc. Sometimes it'll be a Google form. So what you're going to want to click on next is that link. There's a link there. It will have the student's name in front of it. Go ahead and click on that link to that assignment. Once you've clicked on that link to that assignment, you're going to go ahead and remind your child to complete that assignment on Google Doc. Once they are finished, what you're going to want to do, and this is important, is you have to go back to that tab where that submit button is available. Now, if they can go ahead and complete that assignment on Google Doc, but without pressing submit, they have nothing. The teacher will see nothing. So make sure that they go back to that tab that says submit. All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and let's see what we have next. And that is it. That is my segment. I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share, and I'm gonna pass this to Rochelle.
Right. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. I know that we're all doing a lot of learning together, and I know that I just learned a lot from Mr. Kurtz and Mr. C as well. So I hope that you did also. I'm just going to share. Well, I should probably also say that I am, yes, I'm an employee of the district, but I also have two children who are in our district as well. So I, as like Ms. Foss, get the pleasure of seeing it from a parent side as well as from the educator side. So I hope that that lens can help you with a few kind of components that can support you in accessing and supporting for your kiddos. I'm just going to share a few tips with you today to help support some ways to communicate, as well as some organizational pieces, and then just some accessibility pieces. The first thing that I wanted to point out, and you saw samples of this in Mr. Kurtz and Mr. C's Canvas courses that they pulled up, is that a lot of teachers are using buttons on the student's homepage. And a button is simply an icon or an image that you can click on and it takes you somewhere else, right? It might take you to an assignment, or it might take you to a website, or it might take you to a particular resource. So Mr. C just showed us how to use that inbox feature as a way for communicating with your child's teacher, or as well as having your child use the inbox to communicate with their instructors. But you might also find a button on their homepage that says, meet the teacher, teacher bio, get to know the teacher, teacher contact. And the reason I want to point this out is, although it seems very simple, when we have a question and when we want to reach out to our teachers, we want it to be the most efficient way as possible. So typically when they have a button like this, it takes you to a page that tells you either a little bit about the teacher, but it also gives you some information around the best way to reach them. Because some teachers say, if you email me in my inbox, that's the most prompt way, speediest way for me to get back to you. Where others might say, I have office hours, please check in with me. Or others might say, contact me in my conference period, or I'm best reached by phone. So I'm just pointing that out, that if you do see one of these buttons on your kids' course, please take a moment to click on it, read it, and it just helps to know how each teacher prefers to communicate, because it's easiest for us to kind of facilitate that if we're using the ways that also work well for teachers, especially when our students get into middle school and have multiple teachers that might have different preferences. So just a quick kind of tip and consideration around communication. All right, the next thing I wanted to point out is a way that you can help to organize your students' or your child's courses in order to just make it a more kind of streamlined visual way to know where they need to be when. I'm actually going to go into my Canvas course really quick and just show you how this is done. And this is really helpful for especially our students who have multiple courses. So in middle school or secondary, but even at the elementary level, if they have multiple courses, you can really color code in a way that helps to streamline what that is. So for example, if I wanted to, let's pretend I'm a high school student and I'm going to a particular set of classes on Tuesday and Thursday and a different set on Wednesday and Friday. I could visually organize my courses in a way that I know that all of my orange courses are Tuesday, Thursday, and all of my green courses are Wednesday, Friday. So I would just start from my dashboard. So this is just like with when your child gets into their course, and these are movable. So you can move them around to order them how you like. So I can move my courses around. Oops, let me go back into my dashboard. I went into a course. Here we go. And from here, I can click on these little 3 dots. So we always kind of joke, if you're not sure where to click on the 3 dots. It usually gives you extra options as to things that you might want to know what they do. So from here, I can click, and there's one that says color overlay. So if I click color overlay, it's going to keep all of my courses this way, but it'll create this kind of effect of a color on top. And then I can go ahead and start organizing it visually to help know which classes I have on certain days, or even for our elementary students, if they are starting in their main course and then maybe they're going into music later in the day and we want to help them, we can say, you're going to start in your red course and move to your blue course. But then what I would do from here after I put in the overlay is you'll see those magic 3 dots again, and I would click on those. And let's say I'm going to have all of my let's say Tuesday, Thursday courses are going to be green visually, and all of my Wednesday, Friday are going to be red. And I can just switch those right here. So it just gives us another little organizational cue. Color coding is really important in a nice way to do that. And it doesn't change anything on anybody else's end, only on your student, on your child's end. So they can organize them in a way that makes sense for them. All right, I'm going to go back in here. And then the last thing I'm going to show you before we get into some questions. So we talked about just looking at different ways to find out how to contact your child's teachers. Again, just quick organizational tip. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about accessibility. So one of the reasons we selected Canvas as our LMS system is because of the many accessibility features that it has. We are in many phases of learning about how to make Canvas as accessible as possible for all of our students. But one of the embedded accessibility features that can be really helpful is the Immersive Reader feature. I just want to share with you before I go back into the platform and show you where you would find this, when it's available and how it would work, is that when you have these slides right here on the bottom, where it says Immersive Reader video link, there's a link for you that takes you to a quick little video from one of our technology specialists that goes through, again, how to use Immersive Reader, as well as some other text-to-speech features that are available within Chromebook accessibility features. So I know with anything technology, it's always nice to have it shown to you in whole, and then to have a paper to look at to follow the steps, and then a video to go back at and look at on your own. So we're hoping to provide all of those things here for you today. So let me go ahead and go back into my, oops, that's not what I wanted to do, my Canvas dashboard. And I am going to go into, this is a course that I like to play around with and try things. All right. So in Canvas, anything that is built in what is called pages, and you can always tell because it says up on top. A nice cue I like to give to kids is if it says Immersive Reader and that's something that would be helpful to you, then use it, right? Because this button will only come up if it's available for that document. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Immersive Reader. And what it'll do is it'll take anything that I have put on this page as a teacher into this accessibility feature, which does quite a few different things. All of the controls for this are right here up top. If I click on these little letters here for text, it'll allow me within the page to adjust the font size. So if I needed to have it a little bit larger, I might want to do that. I can adjust the spacing. I can adjust the font. I can also adjust the background to add more contrast if that is something that is a nice visual support when reading. And those are some of the features that are available here within this first tab. The next is a nice little feature that, let's say a teacher puts something in that has to do with decoding, or if that's something that helps to have words broken into syllables, I can click on this little tab right here, and you'll see it changed colors to turn on, and it breaks the words up into syllables. I can also have it show me all the nouns, all the verbs. So it does a lot of kind of accessible features to support reading, to support just that visual contrast. But this last one right here is the one that typically is the most supportive for a lot of our students, because it allows for that text to speech. It also allows for that text to speech in multiple languages. So I know sometimes when we are supporting our students at home and maybe English is not our primary language, we want to help our kids, and hearing it in our language is going to help us to support our kids with understanding the assignments or the tasks. A couple of things you can do is you can turn on this line focus, and what it'll do is it'll let you either go line by line, or you can have it do a larger span or paragraph, or if I wanted to see the whole thing, I just wouldn't use that. It's really about preference. It also has an embedded picture dictionary. So if I were to select certain words, like, let's see, if I were to select university, it'll pull up a picture support and will also allow me to play the word. I'm going to go back in. So for any word that there is picture support for, it will do that. If it doesn't have a picture support, So like time does, let's see, 4 does not, but I can still play just the word. So if your student's reading, they have it in the Immersive Reader, and maybe they get stuck on a word and they want to play that word, they can do that to have the audio. Okay. But if I scroll down a little bit more, I can choose to have it, it read aloud by either a singular word or by the document. So if I select document, I can go ahead, oops, let me move my controls here, and I can, I have lots of controls being pulled up, getting in my way. There we go. I can select play.
Parent University, Canvas 101 for parents. We hope that you have found the Parent University, Canvas 101 for parents session today helpful, understanding, and supporting your child with using Canvas. As a reminder, our outcomes for our time together are the following. Understand what Canvas is and how your students are interacting with it. Know how we, as parents, can best use Canvas to assist our kids in their online classes. Before we leave today, we will be sharing some additional resources for more Canvas support.
All right, so you get the gist. But as I was also mentioning, you can adjust the languages that it will read aloud. So if I wanted to, and you see there's quite a few choices here. If I wanted to, let's see, Spanish, Latin America, as I looked, I could also play.
For our time together are the
Oops,
following.
hold on. I didn't change it. I'm gonna go back to, okay.
That you have found the Parent University.
All right, it's not doing it right now. I'm not sure what I did. Oh, hold on. Document. It might be because I didn't let it first. But you guys get the idea there. Again, let me go back here. If your child is working on an assignment that is not within the Canvas Immersive Reader capabilities, and again, it'll say Immersive Reader up on the top. So if that's something that supports your kiddo, then we can always teach them that when you see this little icon, click on it. It'll read it aloud. Sometimes it's nice to read something on your own and then hear it again. So it's an additional support. But if they are working on an assignment within Google, there is also the accessibility within the Chromebook in order to have that select to speak feature, which again, here at the bottom in this Immersive Reader video link, it goes through the steps for that as well. All right, so with that, I hope that these tips were helpful in thinking about organizing and communicating and support for your child. I'm going to hand it, I believe, back to Ms. Voss, who's going to talk to us about, just show us some additional resources and learning opportunities that are coming up to support you. We have an additional kind of accessibility specific session coming up in early December 1st. So that's another place where we can talk a little bit more about supporting students with disabilities with access. But I'm going to stop sharing and hand that over to Ms. Hodge. Are you taking it?
I am. Thank you. Thank you to all of our presenters. We do have a couple of questions here. Mr. Kurtz, we have a question regarding assignments. What should a parent do if their student has been absent or misses part of the day? Any recommendations?
Yeah, if it's part of the day, the way the assignments are typically designed is that students should have access to them throughout the day. So I would say to attempt the assignment, and then if they're having trouble with the assignment, maybe reach out to the teacher using whatever the best means to communicate with that teacher is, and then get some additional support. I personally try to create the assignments so that way that there's some sort of notes or something a video or something that goes along with it. So if that's there, use those resources. If not, definitely reach out to the teacher and they might be able to provide those kind of resources to help support.
Thank you. And then we have another question for Mr. C. Could you please review how to read the graded assignments? There was a question about what do those different categories mean?
Got it.
Thank you.
So this is just a quick example. I'm in a student account. I'm in his PE class. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the grades tab on the very left. Once I'm in grades, I'm gonna go ahead and look to the very far right. Now, I do want you to know that this student is doing a stellar job, has 100% in the class. Again, you have these statuses over here, but he was given full credit for those assignments, even though that they were late. So just want to let you know that you can disregard, but you're looking at the categories here to the very far right. So these are your categories. You have classwork, you have workouts, you have discussion posts. This is going to be different for every class. So this is just for PE. In a more academic class, for example, like math or ELA, you'll see different categories such as assessments. You will see projects. You will see in-class assignments. You will see homework. So those are the categories that you will see for a more academic course. But for this course in particularly, these are the categories that this teacher has set up, and he has a different weighting percent for each of this class. So as you can see here, the one thing that is counted the most when it comes to grades are in-class workouts. It is 45% of their grade. So you guys want to pay attention to the weights, because you can go ahead and turn in all the discussion posts, do all the discussion posts, but they are only worth 15% of the grade. What is worth more are the in-class workouts. What is worth more is the classwork. So you want to make sure that you guys are looking at the weights. And like what Mr. Kerr said, if you guys have any questions about these categories, if you are still confused about them, if you want to know more about the percent, then again, I would reach out to these teachers. All right, hope that helps.
Thank you, Mr. C. So again, as the representing the Parent University team, thank you to everyone who tuned in today. If you have or come across or think of any other questions that you have from the presentation, you can email us at parentuniversity@lbschools.net. Again, parentuniversity@lbschools.net. Today's presentation with links to additional resources will be available by the end of next week in Spanish, Khmer, and English, and they will be available on our Parent University YouTube channel. In addition, we will also be following up with Canvas Tips of the Week beginning this Monday, and they will be sent out every Monday. And we hope that you will find that as an additional resource for Canvas or support for Canvas. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank Ms. Marshall, who was simultaneously translating this presentation in Spanish, and Mr. Keogh, who was also doing that in Khmer. And thank you to the Marketing Media Services team that brought this to you. We wish you well, and we hope to see you next Thursday. Thank you.